This program is brought to you by Bid Select, the Neely School of Business at TCU, Community Trust Bank, and Medical City. Welcome to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Now, here's your host, Shivaun Palmer.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Continue our conversation this afternoon with Retta Miller. She is a partner in the Dallas office for Jackson Walker Law Firm. And when we went to break, Retta, we were talking about a very interesting story about a case you had with a Japanese client, talking about some of the cultural differences that you had to overcome and some of the things based on you being a woman with the initial reaction with the senior team. Yeah.
Right, and one of the most humorous things that ever happened to me in a trial related to that case. I mean, I did develop their trust and their respect, and we ultimately won the case. And as we were kind of debriefing and celebrating the victory, one of the Japanese client who had been with us through the whole trial, who was the president of the company, who would report back every day to the chairman of the company what was going on in the trial, and I learned afterwards that their methodology for determining how the day had gone, because they couldn't understand a lot of what was taking place in the courtroom, was if Miss Miller was laughing at the end of the day, it was a good day. And if Miss Miller was not laughing, it had been a bad day at the courthouse.
Right.
And so it was a little frightening to find out that they had judged how we were doing by whether or not I was laughing.
If you were having a good chuckle or whatever.
Yeah. So,
could you tell us, are you privy just in terms of what the topic of the case was? Why were they being sued by this? It was
a case that involved they were distributing tennis shoes for an American company in Japan, and so it was a suit over a distribution agreement.
All right.
So it's basically a breach of contract and breach of contract case.
There must be tremendous pressure, I mean, because you're representing large companies and so forth, so preparation is absolutely key. But what do you think are maybe the top 2 or 3 attributes you think a successful attorney needs to have?
Well, I think one is preparation. It's important to be the person who is best prepared, but it's also knowing how to prepare efficiently, because clients have concerns about, every client has concerns about efficiency and how you do it. So you have to learn to not only be prepared, but to do it in a way that is efficient and keeps the client's interest in that regard, because the cost of litigation can be so incredibly expensive that that's an issue for a client.
Sure.
And then I think the other thing is just being responsive and talking to your clients. Clients want to know what's happening in a case as it goes along. They want to know what issues you're facing. You're not going to win every case, or every case is not going to get the result you want, but if the client knows what's happening, why it's happening, what the risks are, what the downside, what the potential upside is, they can make better decisions about whether or not they want to resolve the case short of trial, or whether they want to go all the way. And then they're not surprised. There's nothing worse than a surprised client.
No kidding. You know, and why did you, Jackson Walker has such far reach. I know your tagline, I think it's called Texas-based, but a global reach. You've been successful in so many areas, and you do have a lot of international clients. Why did you decide to call Jackson Walker home?
Well, for me, because I was in law school at Northwestern, and I clerked at Jackson Walker during the summer. And I was really decided that I wanted to come back to the Southwest. And one, Dallas seemed to be a really good fit in terms I still have family in Oklahoma, and it was a large enough city. After Chicago, it was still comfortable. But in terms of the firm, because I had also been out before I went to law school, I was really interested in a firm that would give me experience quickly and let me grow and develop at the pace that I could demonstrate I was ready to grow and develop.
Sure.
And Jackson Walker had phenomenal trial lawyers and who were willing to give you those opportunities and who were willing to mentor you as you went along. And so it was just a great opportunity in terms of the kind of practice as well as the people that were here.
You know, you talked about communicating with your clients. I think fear is such a big part. When people don't have the right information, they can just conjure up all kinds of scenarios, and it is a relatively litigious society, but again, that communications seems to be key in terms of people making decisions.
Well, nobody wants to be in litigation.
No.
I mean, unlike transactional lawyers, many times, you know, transactional lawyers develop long-term relationship with clients. So it is important that as a trial lawyer you recognize the concerns that clients have and be sure that you keep them informed and keep them so that they know what's going on.
What was the one of the more profound moments that you've experienced as an attorney in court, either with a client or a scenario or something like that you'll never forget?
Well, this again goes back to the case involving the Japanese clients. One of the things that I learned when we tried that case, it was very early on in terms of courtroom technology. I mean, today every large case has a lot of technology and information and those kinds of things. And we had monitors on each of the jurors, in front of each of the jurors, and in the courtroom in front of the judge, and those kinds of things. And the other side, well, the other side did not use. They didn't use their monitor. They were not particularly tech savvy, and so they were not keeping up with the testimony or those kinds of things.
Right.
Well, and we played a video at one point that had some really good points for our client, and there was one little snippet in it that was somewhat helpful to the other side. But when the other side wanted to go back to it, because they had not used the technology, all they could ask us to do was to replay the video in its entirety. And so we get to replay all the good stuff for us again. And so it really negated their ability to effectively use the evidence. And so it really drove home the point that you really have to understand the technology related to trial. You really have to understand how you tell your story to the jury, because even little things can make a difference in how the story ultimately gets told.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about, you have been amazingly passionate about helping women and girls, particularly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it would take me another 8 minutes to just list off all the boards and the foundations you've been involved with, so I'm going to kind of key in on maybe 3 right now, but the Family Place, tell our audience what that's all about and why you're so devoted to that group.
The Family Place is a domestic violence shelter for women, and not just women, but women and men in the Dallas community. And I feel very passionately that it's important to be sure that we protect those people in our society who need protection, that they have safe places to go, not only for them, but for their children and those kinds of things.
Right.
And so it's been a very rewarding, and we have a women's group here at Jackson Walker that we call JW Squared.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's fascinating. I'd love to hear more about that.
It's our women's initiative here at the firm, and we do a lot of things to try to help lawyers develop professionally, but we also do things in the community, and the Family Place has been one of the organizations
that you've really embraced,
that we've embraced with JW Squared in terms of volunteer activities, working with some of the children at Family Place and those kinds of things. So it's been nice to be able to share that passion with other women here at the firm.
Right. I also know you've chaired the Dallas Women's Foundation, which is a very powerful group of people here in the Dallas area. Tell our audience a little bit about what they're all about.
Women's Foundation basically raises money to fund programs that benefit women and girls.
Yeah.
And encourages philanthropy by women and girls, which to me is, if we can help women, then we can strengthen a family, and I think that's ultimately the way that all the research shows that's how you improve the community.
Right.
Because women are such a strong influence on the family, and if you can educate a woman or help a woman get a job or those kinds of things, then odds are that her family's going to survive, be better, and that her children will have better opportunities. The other thing that the Women's Foundation does that I think is fascinating is we promote philanthropy by women and girls, and try to help women understand that we have the opportunity as women to make a significant impact in the community based upon the money that we give to causes that we think are important, and learning how to be an effective philanthropist is something that's important. I mean, we learn that women have a tendency, we give a lot to little amounts to a lot of different places, and if you think about ways to increase your impact, if you say, okay, I want to support this organization in a major way.
Yeah, with a significant contribution.
For a period of time, and then maybe I move to a different one. But just different ways that you can learn to have a greater impact with the gifts that you make in the community. So I think that's a fascinating piece of what the Women's Foundation does as well.
Super. We're going to hold that thought. When we come back, we'll finish our conversation today with Retta Miller with Jackson Walker Law Firm. This is Shivaun Palmer with Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women.
Jackson Walker is a Texas-based law firm with more than 300 attorneys in Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Angelo, and San Antonio. The firm regularly represents clients in such areas as corporate and securities, litigation, intellectual property, healthcare, energy, labor and employment, legislative and regulatory, real estate, and international law. The firm's corporate clients include Fortune 500 companies, multinational corporations, major financial institutions, and a wide range of publicly traded corporations and closely held businesses. For more info, go to www.jw.com. Jackson Walker, Texas-based, global reach.